So today's webinar will be, as I'm sure you know, how to create loyal and delighted patients. So this is a really core thing that we believe in here at GMR. We want to make sure you have a sustainable and loyal patient base, because that's one of the keys to long-term growth and success. Let me see here. There we go. Sorry to introduce myself, but yes, I'm an account manager here at GMR Web Team. And for today's agenda, we'll be talking about the 3 pillars of healthcare marketing success. So this is our approach to marketing. So it's a little bit different than maybe, if you guys have been talking to other companies, but I'll go over that. And then we'll also be going over why creating a delighted and loyal patient base matters for your physical therapy practice, how to monitor patient satisfaction. I'll give you tips and a whole process, how we do it for our clients and how you can implement it for your practice. And then we'll also talk about how to increase patient engagement and ways you can leverage your current base to ask for referrals. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A. If you have questions right now, you can definitely ask too, but if you want to save it for the end, AJ and I will be answering at the end. So perfect. So at GMR, we developed this whole philosophy called the 3 pillars of healthcare marketing success. So we've been in the business for a while, and we've identified, 3 really strong pillars that you need in order to have a successful healthcare business and do marketing successfully. So like I mentioned, what the webinar is about is creating a loyal patient base. And we really want to focus on improving patient satisfaction constantly for our clients and delighting patients. So that's something you should be considering in your marketing strategy. Second, part of our philosophy is acquiring more patients through a stellar online reputation. As I'm sure you know, the internet's really big right now. So a lot of people, I know a lot of PTs get their, patients from physician referrals, but a lot of people are also looking online. So you want to make sure your online reviews are stellar in order to make a good first impression, right? And then third is kind of what people typically think about when they think about marketing. So getting more new patients through, a robust online presence. So that could be SEO, having a good website, social media. So as you can see, we really make sure we implement strategies that strengthen these 3 pillars for our clients. So, but like I said, in this webinar, we'll be focusing on the first one. So I want to talk about, the importance of creating a delighted and loyal patient base. We find that a lot of practices we talk to, you're obviously very concerned about the new patients you're acquiring, which is totally valid. You always want to have a new flow of patients, but I also find that a lot of people don't really think about how many patients they're retaining. So that's as equally important. You should be concerned about your retention rates as much as your acquisition rates. If you think about it, you're investing a lot in your marketing efforts if you're doing so already. If you're spending money on paid ads, taking time out of your day to create social media posts, spending money on a website. But if you're acquiring all these patients and they're not coming for their repeat visits, or they're dropping off after their initial consultation, then you're kind of putting a lot of money in and not be able to retain them for the long term. So that's something you definitely want to consider. Here's a stat I have from Harvard Business Review. And this applies to a lot of different industries, but acquiring a new customer is anywhere from 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one. So like I mentioned, right, you're spending a lot of money on your marketing efforts, but if you're not keeping those patients happy, then you're losing out on a lot of revenue. In addition to that, satisfied patients, that equates to more referrals and more business for your practice, right? So you want to leverage all your happy patients and make sure they're sending more business your way. So that's why the first pillar is really important to us. And that's why we implement a strategy to monitor patient satisfaction. So I want you to kind of think about how you're currently monitoring patient satisfaction, if you're doing anything at all. When I ask the majority of practices I talk to, they don't really have a solid process. They usually just assume patients are happy, because if you're getting new patients and you're still in business, something's working. But you really want to make sure you hone in on that and monitor patient satisfaction, because in order to figure out what you need to do to retain patients, you need to make sure you have measurable data. So We always recommend implementing a survey process. If you can automate it, that's even more ideal. I know some people kind of think about surveys as traditional pen and paper, but with so many online options right now, you definitely want to implement something a lot more automated. And of course, the benefit of surveying patients is that you get feedback right away and it's genuine and it's fresh from them. You don't have to kind of assume what's going on based on what your staff is saying. You hear it right from the horse's mouth, essentially. And really important too, data. We believe that's really important because measurable data gives you a nice baseline of where your current satisfaction is right now, and then where you need to go from there. So obviously, if you have great satisfaction, then you can identify what you're doing right. But if the numbers are a little bit surprising, then you can figure out ways to better delight your patients. So that's really important to us. As far as automating the survey process, I know a lot of EMRs, if you're using one right now, they do have a survey feature. That's great to leverage. There's other vendors out there. You can use something that's HIPAA compliant. Just make sure it's HIPAA compliant if you're here in the US. Make sure you can use something like SurveyMonkey. At GMR, we set up a process for our clients, through our own proprietary platform, and we make sure it's HIPAA compliant. So, we're able to monitor satisfaction levels with them. And we're also able to integrate with EMR. So patients are getting uploaded with their information, and then we can automatically send out the surveys. So as far as surveys, you want to make sure a best practice tip from us is that we recommend surveying patients right after their visit or same day as their visit to get the most genuine feedback. I've seen some practices, they might send it out a week later for that first survey. We don't recommend that because a lot of times patients will forget about their experience. Everyone lives really busy lives. So you want to make sure you survey the same day. That's also where we find you get the best survey conversion rates and you get the most detailed feedback too. So that's what we recommend. So that's just a quick overview of one way you can monitor patient satisfaction. I'll go into the exact process, what we do at GMR, but I do want to preface, I know when you do partner with Sturdy, he has a whole grid system that kind of shows what you're promising right now and how you're delivering on those promises. So that's another great way how he kind of, you obviously have that same perspective and monitoring, patient satisfaction and delighting patients. But here at GMR, we use something called a Net Promoter Score. You might be familiar with it, but a lot of non-healthcare companies use this. I know I've definitely gotten this for airlines after my flight, and they sent out a survey, but we use an NPS score. It just helps you identify who are most loyal to you, who are most excited about your practice, and then who are the detractors and maybe people that are more neutral. So when we do the survey process, we send it out to our patients, and we do a text first and then an email if they don't respond to the text. And we typically do it right after their appointment or same day. And then we really ask them just one simple question: how likely are you to recommend us, to family or friends? And then we give them a 0 through 10 scale. So based on that rating, we'll identify and put them in a category to determine their satisfaction levels and loyalty. And then we also leave a feedback box for them to give a reason why they rated us as they did. So we always do a 1-question survey. We find that has the best conversion rates for us, and a typical good conversion rate we've seen is about 30%. But you can do multiple questions. We just don't recommend that. If you do something that's 15 questions long, no one's going to have the attention span to answer. So if you do multi-question, we usually recommend 3 to 5. But like I said, through this survey process, if you rate 9 or 10, we deem you as a promoter, and then you're really loyal, you're really excited about services. If you're 7 or 8, you're a little bit more neutral. You're satisfied with the services, but you are more vulnerable to, maybe going somewhere else for your next PT visit, or you're not really thinking about recommending the practice to family or friends. And of course, we have detractors, so people who are very unhappy with their visit and they can potentially, leave a negative review or just spread, negative word of mouth to family and friends. So based on this, the scores, we send notifications to our clients. So if they rate 0 through 6, we send a notification to, the appropriate emails, usually the practice manager. And so someone can see right away, what went wrong on that visit, if they left feedback, and then they can kind of, go ahead and do outreach. And in addition to that, you can see what you do right. So with those promoters, you can see what's doing really well. Is it the interaction with the staff? Is it the PTs? So you better identify what you're doing right so you can continue to do so. So best practice tip from us, whatever process you use, we recommend Net Promoter Score, but once you're able to identify the detractors and what went wrong, you want to learn what they were unsatisfied with exactly, to improve your processes in order to retain them or to make sure it doesn't happen again with future patients that you acquire and new patients. So I'm going to switch, go to the next slide and talk about how to talk to those detractors in order to retain them. So you can see this is a little dashboard we have for our clients. So you can see this responses within the last 3 months. So you can see we have 49 negative responses, one that still needs attention. So practice manager hasn't gotten to that particular survey yet. The response time with the managers. And then we can also see how many are still in progress, managers still doing outreach, and we can see the percentage that are closed. So perhaps the patient just never got back to the manager after a few attempts, or they're just choosing not to return to the practice. And then a percentage we're able to retain. So managers will make a note saying this is completed. We're able to kind of, retain the patient, talk to them, see what went wrong. We recommend, if you have a survey process, to do something similar to this, because it's like a step-by-step process. You can really see, is it how you're responding to the negative feedback is working, and you can identify the patterns of what is going wrong. So when your business grows, things don't compound, because I know the more patients you have, the more things you're juggling. So we want to make sure we retain any patients, right? So this is our process. And I know it might seem kind of like, oh no, another thing to add to my plate, but once you have this set up and you train your staff, it becomes really ingrained in the culture of the practice, and it becomes really second nature. So that's why I recommend, especially if things are kind of increasing, you're getting more negative reviews, you're kind of noticing patient drop off, it's time to implement this strategy. And even if you're a new practice, you want to make sure you have this from the get-go and train your staff. So that's a process we do with our clients to implement, patient satisfaction monitoring. And then now I'm just going to switch gears and talk about how to ask for referrals. Because, right, if you have delighted patients, you definitely want to increase the amount of new business that's coming to your practice. We often find that a lot of people aren't asking enough for referrals. Maybe they're busy, they kind of feel a little hesitant, but we often find that if your patients are really happy, they're going to be very receptive to you asking for a referral. And obviously this doesn't have to be on the first visit. It kind of doesn't make sense to do that, right? But towards the end of their time with you, they've gone to a few sessions, been with you for a few months, towards the end, if they're really happy with, the outcome of, their time with you, that's a great way to ask, hey, I would love it if you could refer us out to somebody. And then you just want to make it easy for them. And a lot of times patients will be very receptive. You hand them a business card, say, hey, would love it if you could just, pass this along to somebody who needs physical therapy. So it really does work. At GMR, we do encourage our clients to do that, but we also help them send automated emails to the most satisfied patients, right? So we have information, we want to leverage it. And we send out emails saying, hey, Susie, thank you so much for being a patient with us. We'll love it if you refer us out to somebody. So having those few touch points helps increase the likelihood of referrals and makes your practice, stay top of mind. So that's one thing we do. Another thing, I know you guys get a lot of referrals from your physicians, so you want to make sure you let them know, thank them, show them your success rates, your reviews, brag a little bit about your practice and show them that they're making the right decision to send patients over to you. So that's a few strategies here. Like I said, best practice, you have information. If you're doing a whole survey process, leverage it, right? You're putting all this time and effort. You want to make sure you get new business from your happy patients. So this is just some tips and what we recommend and what we do for our clients. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears a little bit and talk about other ways to increase retention beyond just patient satisfaction monitoring. Increasing engagement is a really great way to do this. First thing, really easy, just be a practice that is easy to communicate with. And by that, I mean, don't make it difficult, for people to reach you by phone or have to hunt down, an email address. If you have a website, make sure a phone number is, easily seen so people can call and make an appointment. Make sure you have forms, or if you have texting options, leverage that too. Everyone's busy. Not everyone has time to pick up the phone and call. So have two-way texting as an option. In addition to that, it makes it easy for when doctors refer patients to you or other patients refer to you. Make it easy for people to, make an appointment. Second thing is what we implement for our clients too is automated appointment and confirmation reminders. We want to make sure you reduce the amount of no-shows and make it easy for patients to confirm. I know phone calls is a very traditional way to do it, but having these new ways just makes it convenient for everybody. So that helps with retention too, as we've seen. Newsletters. If you aren't sending newsletters already, it's really easy to do. You can use vendors like MailChimp. With our clients, we have our own platform, and we recommend about a 70-30% split. So 70% sharing, physical therapy techniques, patient education material, clinical news, and about 30%, promoting your own services. So you want to make sure you give patients helpful information, and even if they're haven't visited in a while, by giving them this information, it really shows that you care about them, and hopefully you're able to retain them. If they ever have another issue or another injury, they can come back to you. So that's what we recommend. Super easy. Send it once a month. That's what we do for our clients. And it's a good way to keep your practice top of mind. Third thing, going off keeping your practice top of mind, we really recommend showing ways that you're thinking of them. So for our clients, we help them send holiday and birthday e-cards out there. So this is just via email. I know some practices, they might do physical cards. That's a great way, nice personal touch too. But if you want to be cost effective, sending holiday and birthday cards is really great. And with our system, we can see birthdays, just general month and day, and then we can send it out automatically. And then for all major holidays, we send it out. Like I said, you really want to make sure you keep your practice top of mind, but not in an intrusive way, just as a way like, hey, we're thinking of you and we really appreciate you being a patient. So those are just some strategies for better retention and increasing patient engagement. I just want to do a quick recap because I know I went through a lot of things. But remember, we went over the reason why we want to delight patients, right? It's a lot cheaper to keep patients in that you've already acquired than to continually acquire new patients if you're seeing a lot of drop off. In addition to that, in order to further delight patients and make sure you're on the right track, you want to create some kind of patient satisfaction monitoring. Again, we recommend Net Promoter Score, just asking one simple question: are you likely to recommend us to a friend or family member? And then based on that information, you can identify who's dropping off, who's happy, and then you can create processes to retain them, right? And then we also talked about strategies to increase referrals. So easiest thing, most cost-effective way is just to simply ask. We also recommend doing email as another touch point. Like I said, we do that for our clients automatically, sending out emails based on the survey responses. And then we also talked about how to further engage patients and increase retention through other strategies like newsletters and texting, having open lines of communication, and then also e-cards for birthdays and holidays. So like I said, it's not entirely rocket science, but as long as you have processes laid out, it really goes a long way to your long-term success.